Greetings gamers everywhere, I'm Swip92 and we're back with another build for the Void King, this time featuring the Demon Hunter. Now this one is a little bit different in, well, one way, mostly because of how the primary damage ability works. Now this is a good build, I would say. It's not the best build for, well, for in the game, and I'm sure it's not even the best Demon Hunter build, but it works to take out the Void King, at least in the first difficulty. But let's go over the runes real quick because, well, it's pretty standard, but let's go over it. Weapon Mastery, Reroll, and I chose Arduous Training. Arduous Training gives you more XP for your character. Then we have Focus Fire to increase damage, Swift Execution for the extra critical damage. I really like that one. It's really simple but works well. And then we have Pulse of Agony, which increases your cast frequency by 0.5%. 0.5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 20 times. And this is every time you apply bleed. Well, there's a 10% chance that you will increase your cast frequency every time you apply bleed. Yes, this build is bleed based. Now, the fourth and final rune is Vulnerable Target, which increases critical chance by 25%. As previously stated in my other build videos, these runes are not set in stone. If you have any other, well, runes that you think will be very complementary to the build, feel free to use those. Now, well, the build is basically apply bleed, apply bleed, apply bleed, apply bleed. And your primary damage is Dreadful Grenade, which is your secondary ability locked to the weapon. Now the other abilities I had was of course Hellspawn Grenade, which is the basic ability for the demonic launcher weapon. Storm of Arrows, which can apply bleed if you have a chance to apply bleed with every attack, which is quite easy to get. There's no need to increase the damage on that one because the damage from Dreadful Grenade is based on the stacks of bleed and not the damage that the bleed is dealing. So no need to pick bleed damage all the time. Bomb Barrage, which is very effective at applying bleed in a large area. Chaotic Surge for that additional damage and disarray that it gives you. And I also use Shrapnel Shot, which also applies bleed. Now, of course, some of these abilities can also be changed, but I chose these because they give a good area and they also apply bleed, which is the most important part. Now, with that said, cast frequency is quite important because you want to apply bleed as much bleed in as short of a time span as possible. So I went for a lot of cast frequency on abilities and just general cast frequency. Also, multicast chance is of course very good, and area. Because Dreadful Grenade, your primary damage dealer, is a bit special in a way. It's you throw down the grenade, or multiple if you happen to have cast multiple, and then they place themselves in an area, and they apply weakness first, and then they explode after 5 seconds. So the important part here is that yes, after 5 seconds, then they deal their damage. And the damage is, as I said, based on the amount of bleed stacks on an enemy. So this is not a instant damage dealer. It basically you throw down all the grenades and then after a few seconds yeah, they're gonna explode, all of them at the same time, almost. And then you will start dealing damage. So that makes this build a little bit special in that way. Also, that's also why multicast chance and area is very important, because as titans and bosses tend to move, you'll want to hit them with the grenade, and well, you don't want to move you don't want them to move out of range for it, and 5 seconds is quite a long time, so you need to survive that time and you need to hit them. So yeah, you're gonna need to do a lot of running, but also kind of make sure that you can get them in the blast. Now, of course, I'm playing with the uh, ability settings on a very low graphics, because otherwise you just get blinded by all the things going on and you can't see the red circles and all that. But yes, cast frequency and multicast, very good to have, and area. Of course, the only thing you need to increase damage on is the dreadful grenade. Nothing else needs any damage. You can increase the potency of a chaotic surge, your buff, so that your uh, cost, your damage, critical damage gets higher with that buff. That's really good to have. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else I can really say. I mean, you can see the stats at the end where what I have with damage modifier and all that. I think I was pretty lucky with getting damage modifier on both grenade and general damage. Now, of course, any damage or area that is applicable to the dreadful grenade, like area, frontal, I believe it's also tagged as, and all of that. Anything that is good for dreadful grenade, take that. Now, you don't need it to have, when you've reached a certain point in cast frequency, you can leave that. Same for dreadful surge or chaotic surge. You can just leave it be. Because you want the buff up and running all the time, and once you achieve that, just leave it be. Leave cast frequency alone for that one and just focus on anything else for that one. Well, potency I think is the only thing other than that, actually, when I think about it. Uh, Other than that, I don't know. Just be careful. Be careful. Now, applying some, well, I would say applying some skillful maneuvering and some defense can be good for survivability if you're having trouble with that. Also, I can also mention that as you might have already seen in the gameplay, the Scorpion has a very good passive buff that you can get when you kill him that will increase your damage by a good amount, I would say. It's a blood parasite. It's a titanic power that increases all the damage you cause based on the number of stacks of bleed on the target, which will stack perfectly with your dreadful grenade. Now this one is only 0.1% per stack, and it's a maximum of 50%, but still. And maybe even if you take the Scorpion 2 times, because let's say you do it the first time and then the third time, because you can re-roll what titans you get. So if you get maybe you can stack that buff so it's maybe 0.2% per stack. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't do that because I didn't know the Scorpion had that kind of bleed thing, so keep that in mind. Experimenting with the bosses is something I'm doing right now, trying to see what kind of bonuses they can have or give based on what you have. Because the bosses give different kind of buffs depending on what kind of buffs or abilities you have. If you have bleed based, some bosses will give you bleed based buffs, and some bosses will only have 2 buffs to give you because you don't have anything else that apply to your set of abilities, which I think is a great thing, but because that really gives the Titans some sort of, I guess, personality. You really only give what they're based on, basically. But yeah, other than whatever already said, this is a workable build. It's not great, but it's workable. It gets the job done, you know. So all in all, good luck. I'm Swip92. Have a great life. Hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye.